So it's tomato planting time, and in this package were only 9 seeds. 9 seeds for $1.99. That's incredible. And I don't know. I think it's interesting how
9 seeds.
9 tomato seeds. That's incredible, eh?
$1.99. Well, it's
Yeah.
$2 because there's no way they're
There's
going to
no
get a penny back.
No, because here in Canada there's penny brown.
So
There's no way.
what the hey is that? That's like $9 for 9 seeds for.
It's 20
so,
some cents.
yeah.
20.
You figured out what it was per seed.
It's like 20. What would it be? 22? Something like that. It's you know what? This is too much time devoted to the math of the seeds. James is tired. He just woke up. Math is his thing. He's having a hard time with it right now because I just got him out here after being asleep.
9 seeds into $2.
Yeah, he's still having a hard time with it.
Yeah, you're right. It's two. I think it's 22 cents. 22.2 cents.
Oh boy. All right. So, I'm still talking about Jeff Koons, but it doesn't. I'm not going to put up the books because they're just going to fall down. It's a bit breezy.
It's
now.
a bit breezy.
So,
and the books don't stand up too well to some of them. Big, thin
but
books.
I don't
thin
know.
Books.
So, do you want to talk about that for a minute? Barbara Rubin and the exploding New York NY experience.
Yeah.
And then this one. You can talk about both of those actually before I talk about this. So go ahead.
Barbara Rubin and the exploding New York underground. And as soon as I heard that title, I was thinking the exploding plastic inevitable, which was an early name for the Velvet Underground.
Protein shake.
And related phenomena.
Easy meal.
People that were, well, I hope it's easy to get down. It doesn't look that appetizing. But
Green.
Yeah, I know.
Spirulina.
Anyway, this is about Barbara Rubin, which would be the barbarian Ruby, or something like that if we translate from the Greek and the German. So, I've known about this woman probably for 45 years because I think it's the back cover of Bringing It All Back Home by Bob Dylan. There's someone kind of massaging Bob Dylan's hair or head or something like that, and that's Barbara Rubin. I didn't know who she was, and now I find out her name. So I have all the Velvet Underground records, even ones that weren't released, and I have a few of Lou Reed's records. Well, a fair number of them, but it's just not a large percentage of them. I found him a little bit hard to take when he was solo, mainly because with the Velvet Underground he'd have other people doing vocals, and his vocals wear really badly on me. And I could put up with Bob Dylan all day long, and I've done that. I'm not kidding you, not all day long, but I'd work, at work, sometimes I'd work 10 hours. I'm not making that up, right, in the wintertime. And I'd play Bob Dylan stuff all the way through, just continuously. It would be several days. But I could not do that with Elvis Costello. I could not do that with Lou Reed. And I could listen to Leonard Cohen, straight on through, because the lyrics pull me through. Same thing with Dylan, but Lou Reed's lyrics aren't good enough to pull me through. And frankly, same thing with Elvis Costello. At any rate, this is about Barbara Rubin, who was a filmmaker, I guess, experimental filmmaker, more experimental than filmmaker. So she's a teenager. I think they're saying 17 years old, and she picks up a camera and she says, "I'm going to be a film." Well, it's like I was saying to Pauline, what happens if someone says they pick up a set of paintbrushes?
Well, what they were saying in the video, they said. Somebody interviewed was saying at the time such and such sort of cameras were developed and anybody could use them.
Sure.
So anybody could pick one up and use one. And it's like, okay, but so if you did, does that make you an artist or a filmmaker? If anybody can do it, then a monkey could do it or a whatever. And so whatever
Anything they
you're
could hold it,
capturing.
right?
It's more the this is my what I have to say. My problem with a lot of artists is it the medium that they're using that's really the artist, or is it the message that they're making? Is it even their message? You know, whatever. They're a lot of the time they're marketing themselves more than whatever they're suggesting is their art, or
Sure.
yeah, like
someone-
here she's doing I'm sorry, I said you could do it, and then here I am talking about it. Okay,
well, you
so
were
there's
listening
like
to it, yeah.
there's videos that she was making of a couple. There were a couple women kissing, and one of the women was obviously very into it. The other one obviously not. It just made me feel sad. And then there was a video where she was showing different things happening superimposed on
Simultaneously.
yeah, on somebody's vagina. So there's and it's like, okay, why just, you know, because you are willing to exploit other people, or in this case someone else's vagina. I don't know if we ever got to see her face, probably just her vagina, but if you're willing to exploit other people or other things or whatever, and the medium that you're using, anybody could use it, then is the person who's being exploited, or the model or whatever, is the model then more an artist or more art or whatever than the person who is suggesting that they're the artist? Do you know what I mean?
Well, even if someone has talent, I think the model should be given credit. We were talking about that before.
Mm-hmm.
But when the artist doesn't have talent, then the model is more of the artist, as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, here she's using sex to sell her
Lack of talent.
her lack of talent. Honestly,
It's a distraction. It's to say,
Yeah.
like look at the message, don't look at the medium, kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, it's like bad home movies, really. So I think some people who do home movies actually try it.
At one point there was a film somebody interviewed said, I saw that 9 nights in a row, 9 times.
13.
Was
You're
it 13?
underestimating.
Okay.
And no, you're doing the James. Don't apologize, because exactly right. That's what I try to do. I try to work against my point, which is this guy's a fool.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, like, you're being kind to him. He's by saying
Not
9.
really even.
Well, you are.
No.
That's what I try to do. Like, if I'm using stats and I'm not quite sure.
And so I was
try
saying to
underestimate.
James, well, what, was he going there to pick up chicks or guys or both or what? Like, because honestly, that film, you go there to see that film that many times. Why? You know, like James said. What was your response?
Oh, it was about the
Film.
I forgot.
Oh my gosh, I wanted to let you say it. James said, I couldn't even watch that one time in a row.
One time in a row. Yeah, it's not so much the thought, but it's the way I put it, one time in a row. Because I was thinking, I couldn't watch that once, but I put it so much better. But that was before I fell asleep, and I'm kind of tired now. Because it wasn't, I guess it wasn't good enough sleep. I was cuddling with the dogs, and hopefully the dogs got more out of it than I
They
did.
love it.
But yeah, they do. Chihuahuas love getting under the covers, because especially this time of year when it's a little cooler. But yeah, you know, like, so it's a bit like Gauguin. You know, it seems to me to have been maybe a little bit, I'd call hypomanic or something like that. He was good at investing, and he ended up being okay at art. Well, pretty good. Not one of the greatest, despite what some people might say. But, you know, he just, he's already grown up. He picks up paintbrushes, he picks up a palette, and he picks up...
Yeah, but he wasn't great at art.
That's what I'm saying.
And, okay. And really, he was just exploiting lovely Polynesian women, which he couldn't even do justice.
Yeah, and he ended up
spreading
giving...
syphilis around to them.
I don't think he was having protected sex. He caught it, apparently, from a hooker in, pardon my French, putain in French, in France, in Paris or something like that. And then he goes back and he's, spreading the love around and all this sort of stuff. Shameful chapter in the history of the world. And, but yeah, he wasn't, he did this two-dimensional kind of stuff, which is still all the rage. Van Gogh did it so much better, Cézanne did it even worse than Gauguin. But Cézanne's the man nowadays. I'm going, what the, the guy had no talent. Cézanne's kind of like had no talent. He wasn't even good at promoting himself, which is amazing. He's other people promote Cézanne. Yeah, see, Gauguin was good at promoting himself, and stuff like that. So Van Gogh kind of got a sense of three dimensions just by plastering the paint on, and stuff like that with what's called impasto. I gotta admit, I have a certain degree of, they had some Bob Dylan music, they had some Velvet Underground music and stuff like that, and I've got a warm spot in my heart for kind of that feeling because I'm more of a 70s kind of guy, but not that I like a lot of 70s music and stuff like that. But I kind of was, I had an older brother who was maybe more like a 60s, closer to 60s kind of guy. He's kind of like on the cusp between the 60s and 70s. He's 2.5 years older than me. And I like Bob Dylan, I like Lou Reed, especially the Velvet Underground, reasonably well, and stuff like that. So I feel as though I should like it more, but I hate to really show these grand 60s to Pauline, because she's looking at it with an objective eye, and it must look like just like a bunch of flakes, a bunch of stupid self-promoting flakes.
I'll be talking about it because I'm talking about Koons.
Yeah.
And
Andy Warhol. We'll be talking about Andy Warhol.
We will.
Andy Warhol was one of those self-promoting fakes, and he.
Well, Koons is just a natural progression from.
Or regression. Well, actually, I'd say he's a progression. He's better than Warhol, as far as I'm concerned.
It's
Almost
along the same.
He does is better than anything
He
Warhol.
is. Actually, I think Koons is. I think he's quite a brilliant artist, honestly. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. And it's because he has noticed the truth about the whole exploitation in the industry and the fact that it is marketing and it's commercial art, which is considered as fine art, and it has been for a long time.
And that includes Pablo Picasso, not just Salvador Dali. And
Dali was actually doing real art, and he was able to market himself successfully.
And unashamedly.
Yes. And he was not well liked by the communist
crowd.
Artist world, which they were marketing in a different direction, and it was away from Catholicism, which Salvador Dali was.
Well, he eventually reverted to it. He actually belonged to the Surrealists, and they were generally communists and stuff like that. They eventually drummed him out of the group, or at least tried. Well, I think they tried to, and was it André Breton? He was really exercised, because Dali would make little things like Lenin, little statuettes of Lenin on pianos and stuff like that. It's kind of playful.
Yes, but Salvador Dali, he wasn't exploiting anybody. Besides, maybe, you could say the people that were buying his art, but they're willingly being exploited.
Or maybe his wife, but...
no, I wouldn't say so.
That's, there we go.
He wasn't even from, who knows, right? But it's said that he wasn't even having sex with her in the regular sense. So he wasn't dominating her in any way. I mean, when she was modeling for him, it was really tastefully done.
What was her name? Maya or something?
What was her name? Oh, it was close to that, though, wasn't it?
Kind of forgotten.
I think it started with a G.
Gaia. The Latin. Anyway, he did. It was several decades.
But he obviously
paintings.
really loved her.
I think he
and
did.
he really
yeah.
respected her, and you could see it in the artwork. So there's a lot of artists, I'm not going to mention any names, that they love doing nudes, but they don't do faces. They can't do the faces, and it really shows what they value and
He
what
did
they don't.
He did do his wife's face very nicely.
Very nicely. And
Get the sense of personality coming across. And yes, there are guys out there. Maybe there's some women, but it tend to be guys who just they have trouble with the face. They're not terribly concerned with it.
And so Koons, I mean, obviously he was looking at this stuff. He liked Salvador Dali, and so the lobster shows up in his work, and he could see honestly that if you look back at that time when all of a sudden you see things changing, you look back at James is watching a music thing that we'll talk about, a great course in a few days.
Yeah, it's a very good course, music and history,
it's
history and music.
And the guy, which DVD was it? The fourth or something? He was talking about, he was listing off all the inventions, just every year, the 1800s, boom, 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 invention. And then all of a sudden, you have this whole art movement happen, and it's submarines. All intelligent thought almost. It's ridiculous what's happened, and if you look at it honestly, you see it. And Koons looked at it honestly, and he saw the one who had the real talent at the time was not Picasso, it was Salvador Dali. And he was constantly railroaded. Whatever, it got him publicity, and Jeff Koons could see also bad publicity, it's still publicity, because everybody knows who Salvador Dali is. And in 100 years from now, they will. And 200 years from now, I think they will. I don't know about Picasso, honestly. If anything, people will look at Picasso and go, whoa, that's the example of what went wrong, So,
Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, that's when, the rot had already set in, but that's when it was obvious. And I think that was 1905. That's when the rot set in on science with Einstein. Both things are a reaction, and that's a reactionary reaction to the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment had to be responded to, because what happened was anything that looked like superstition, they slammed down, including it would be like native or indigenous healing and stuff like that. There's a lot of mumbo jumbo, I'm afraid, that goes along with that. But like natives all around the world discovered, well, not all around the world, wherever there were willows, they discovered that willows had medicinal properties. Mm-hmm. And to just say, and there are other things that they discovered that I think they're still finding out. They're using.
Oh, sure, and you'll have a lot of yellows today, which that's the marketing. Cheerleader, artistic, salesman section, outgoing, which is seen today as being the artist, the group of artists. They're not. Those are not artists. Those are salesmen.
They're self-promoting salesmen. You can buy them to promote other people, but basically, all other things being equal, they'll be promoting themselves.
Sure.
You'll see them in an advertisement, they're all over the screen and stuff
like that. And Jeff Koons, he's one.
Oh, he is one.
But he sees the truth, and he tells the truth about what he's doing, at least some of the time, I think. And he's profiting off of his work himself that he's promoted magnificently. So in this day, with art the way that it is, I think he really is the best that we have at this time. For because somehow you have to get messages across, and he is getting his message across. He's very successsul. That orange
You're
balloon
going to
dog,
be better than him.
58 point. No, I will never be able to market myself.
Just wait.
That orange balloon dog, $58.4 million. That's what that sold at auction. Impressive.
It's impressive.
And
it's worth about $580, I'd say.
It's an awesome. It's worth more than that. It's an awesome example of his art. And I will probably go into. I'll have to write it all out because it will take me a long time. I don't know to talk about his work and what I see in it. But after that, the auction in 2019, so this was a fairly recent auction, the Silver Rabbit, I think it was 1986. I can't remember.
That's when it was commissioned.
Yep.
You remember it exactly.
But I don't know what it went for at that time in 1986. But in an auction in 2019, $91 million for that freaking Silver Rabbit. Seriously.
So Pauline thinks it might be worth more.
I
think it's
not
worth about
no.
more than what I'm going to say. I'd say
balloon dog's worth more.
$910. I wouldn't even pay $91 for it because where would I put it? I'd have to look at it. So
it's not anywhere near his. Like you could right now, people looking at it go, oh, that must be the best one because that one sold for $9. No, that's not his best work at all. That's not even close.
But understand, I'm saying this stuff is worth money, but there's a lot of stuff out there like Picasso's. I think someone had to pay me.
Yeah,
to put that
but
up.
there is nothing of Jeff Koons's that is worth as much as anything of Dali's. Honestly, Dali's, that's the real deal. That's art.
Well, Dali did some stuff.
He did some, there was some stuff
a fair amount of stuff. Although sometimes he take an eternity to do something.
Yeah.
He really took his time.
The actual art. When there's stuff that he was doing that was for commission for, like he did portraits of people that,
some of those are pretty good.
Yeah, but he also did. He also did some other things that were like commercial work, right? He worked with Alfred Hitchcock on a movie.
Yeah, he worked with Buñuel back in the day, but I'd rather work with Hitchcock.
He did some other things, and Jeff Koons is also, if you look at the wiki thing about Jeff Koons, and you should, it's a good read. It doesn't take long, and it's worth it. It's worth it. They point out the key things that everyone needs to know. So, Jeff Koons is doing commercial work too. He was involved in making some handbags or something. Da Vinci. It had Mona Lisa on it. I don't know. Anyway, so there's some commercial stuff that is just purely commercial art, right? That he's involved with. That Dali was doing that sort of stuff too. Whatever. Dali was a real artist. He was doing real art, and anybody who tries to suggest otherwise is a liar. They're dishonest. Not just an idiot, dishonest. So. And
the sad thing is when you get dishonest idiots, and they're fooling people. What does that make the people they're fooling?
Okay, so anyway, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, a little bit. Okay. So this is, where is this? Is this an independent movie or, I don't know who made this sort of thing, but this is what a lot of left-wingers want Hollywood naked, which is you expose the seamy underside of being white and male, white male. This is not an old white male here, so they only get 2/3 marks maybe from the lefties out there, I suppose, but at least they hammer down on males and whites. So actually, this stuff has got to be exposed. The militia types, and I'm not going to say exactly how the ending goes, but this guy's into guns and ammo, so you might be able to guess. But there's lots of bad people nowadays, and Hollywood is not supposed to portray people of color being bad like that. you know, when they do, oh, there's demonstrations. I don't know, there might be demonstrations coming from the tards who are like this, from the right-wing side. Like I say, this stuff has to be exposed, but I want to see all colors of the spectrum exposed, and all opinions on the spectrum of political opinions and religious opinions, all sorts of belief systems. I want to see them exposed. You know, when they're doing bad, you know, like you even have to do exposures. We watched a fairly good documentary on the Hutterites, you know, right? Or was it Hutterites, Amish? I can't remember. But
No,
Mennonites. It was the Mennonites. It was about Mennonites.
Oh, you're right. It was about the Mennonites.
And you know, there were some not so nice things happening there. Of course, it didn't involve, you know, like terrorism or stuff like that. But the stuff has to be put out there, you know, and things like that. So, you know, I don't see this as being. It wasn't that good of a movie. It wasn't that bad, actually. The ending was a little bit different than what I expected. So it wasn't just total whitewash, shall we call it? But yeah. Anyway, I don't spend money on the thing, and you know, yeah, maybe watch it. Anyway, how's that?
That's awesome.
Right.
So, I'm going back to the handbook, Jeff Koons handbook here, and reading some more of my notes. Page 100, naked, 1988, two naked children, boy, girl, boy giving girl flowers. Quote, in the porcelain pieces, I wanted to be able to show the sexuality of the material. Porcelain is a material which was created in the service of the monarch and made in the king's oven. Of course, over the centuries, it's become totally democratized. But still, the material always wants to return to the service of the monarch. There is this uplifting quality about it, this feeling of one's social standing being increased just by being around the material. Now, what I have to say about that is he is marketing modern or current American society in his work. And so it's not the service of the king. Although, I mean, the only thing that we make really out of porcelain nowadays are toilets. That is what he's trying to say with this work. It's yes.
Possible. He might not even realize it, right, you know, because he does. Yeah, maybe he does. He's probably playing around. You know,
we call the toilet the porcelain throne. So I think he realizes full well what he's doing. And page 119, Made in Heaven, 1989, starring Jeff Koons and Cicciolina.
Cicciolina? Is it Cicciolina? Is it CC?
Yeah.
In the middle? If it's Cicciolina, it would be CH. If Italians want to make a hard K sound, they put CH there.
Okay.
Before a I or an E, right?
It's interesting because she was an Italian porn star.
And later on, a member of Parliament or whatever they've got there.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah.
To be able to market oneself from porn actress to member of Parliament, now that's an achievement. But in this, starring Jeff Koons, his name is first, and she is second. But he does give her credit.
Well, that's not right. I think it should always be alphabetical. That way, honest to God, that's the way it is.
Okay.
Although
maybe she could do